I would like to discuss very common subjects, because always people say that all these existing religions are the same. In the end, they will reach the final goal, where they can experience the same peace, happiness or bliss or satisfaction in their life. So we have to investigate whether it is true. All these existing religions teach the same thing, same truth and same final goal. As Buddhists, whether we can agree with this or not. The trouble is this: when we were born in a Buddhist family, we follow our forefathers' religion as our traditions or way of life. After that, we try to justify or glorify that our religion is better than other religions. That is the trouble with everybody. Those who are born in Christian families, Muslim families, Hindu families also do the same. There may be very few who think unbiasedly, then find out certain weaknesses in their own religions and certain advantages or the development in their religion which they cannot find out in other religions. Another problem is why religion has become a very sensitive subject. People get angry very easily when people criticize other religions. But when they criticize many other things, they don't get angry. Scientists have discovered many things which we could not understand earlier. Later, some other scientists have pointed out what they have discovered, what they have revealed is not the final answer. Some other scientists have gone beyond that. But those scientists who have discovered certain things never get angry. They appreciate that. But religious people, whatever they have accepted earlier as their belief or traditions or way of life, are not ready to surrender their age-old belief that they have learned from their forefathers. Some of them were introduced by primitive people, when their knowledge and understanding about the world and the life and the universe was very poor. What they have recorded in their holy books, they tried to justify. The only teacher who has given full freedom for us to think, investigate freely is the Buddha. There are two important points in Kalama Sutra. He says you should not accept anything for granted but it is recorded in your holy book. You also must try to understand. By thinking, investigating, you will be able to know whether it is true or not. Again he says, you should not accept anything thinking that this saying or this message was given by such a great teacher or God. Therefore we must accept and follow. The Buddha says no, that is not the way. He said, you should not accept my teaching thinking that the Buddha is a great man. By depending on personality cult, developing confidence on the teacher, if you accept anything, you never realize the truth. This freedom you cannot find in many other religions. There were two occasions the Buddha has given very liberal answer. Somebody came and asked, there are many religions. The followers of all these religious groups try to glorify, justify that their religion is the true religion. Actually, what is the correct or the true religion? The Buddha did not say, Buddhism or my religion is the true religion. What did he say? On one occasion, he said, if you can find four noble truths in any religion, accept that religion as a true religion. Again, on another occasion, he has given the similar answer. If you can find 8 noble paths in any religion, accept that as a true religion. The founder of Polytech Society in London, Dr. Rhys David, more than 100 years ago, he has said, or he has written, I have read, studied all the existing religions, but I could not find the four noble truths in any other religions. And these four noble truths convinced my mind to accept Buddhism as a true religion. This is his comment. Again, the common belief that maintained by many people that religion or the religious laws or commandments or message were given by the God. Buddhists never agree with this. We never believe that religion is given by the God. We never believe the message or the teachings were given by the God. Then how did we gain this? Before these religions come into existence, we maintain humanism. To maintain human dignity, to fulfill our duties and responsibilities and obligations without neglecting and to lead a harmless life. This is humanism. After developing this humanism, later they invited God into this humanism. It is not that God has introduced this. people have invited God into their religion, later introduce this as a message given by the God. That is how the concept, belief, religious laws and commandment accepted by the people, thinking that this is the message or the religious law given by the God. In Buddhism, you cannot find even one word given by the God. When a man's way of thinking, his knowledge, his wisdom, his understanding developed, he could manage to realize what is right and what is wrong. And that intellect, that wisdom they use to convey a message to whole mankind. Occasionally, a brilliant religious teachers who have developed their knowledge and wisdom and enlightenment by realizing the real nature of life and the world and the universe, explained how things come into existence and the universal nature, universal phenomena which is beyond our comprehension. Such people are known as enlightened religious teachers. Again, those who say all these religions are the same, there is no difference. What they say? Every religion teaches us to do good. Every religion teaches us not to do bad things. This is the way how they measure. This is a very poor measurement, poor judgment. Because there are many who have no religions, who can understand this is right, this is wrong. So without depending on any religion, without depending on any God, they can understand these things are wrong, these things are right. But there is no religion, no God. That is why I told you, this is a very, very poor decision made by people. Religion has gone beyond this. Without depending on any religion, we can understand what is right and what is wrong. Then, religions try to point out our destiny, the aim of our life, the purpose of our life, why we are here, what are we doing, what will happen to us, why the world is like this, why we cannot satisfy with many things, why there is no peace. A religion can point out. Here, a quotation from the Buddha's teaching: do all religions teach the same truth? So one day, Sakra, the king of the god, came and asked, Sir, do different religious teachers teach the same dharma or truth? Practice the same discipline? Aspire to the same things and pursue the same goal? The Buddha's answer was no. This is direct sayings of the Buddha. No, they do not. And why? This world is made up of many and various elements, the Buddha says. And people adhere to one or another of these elements and become tenaciously addicted to them, saying, this alone is true, all else is false. Therefore, all those religious teachers do not teach the same dharma or same truth, practice the same discipline, desire the same thing or pursue the same goal. Directly the Buddha gave the answer. For those who say all these religious teachers teach the same truth, same dharma, then simple explanation is given by the Buddha. Amongst all those existing elements, some people take only one or two, take for granted that this is the correct or the true element, but they have no knowledge about the other existing elements. Again, there are three groups. How they define or analyze the world and the life. एक हेतु, अनेक हेतु, अहेतु. Three groups. One group believe there is one cause for all these existing things to appear. One particular cause. First cause. Another group says, not only one, there are so many causes. Another group says, ahetu, there is no cause whatsoever. Things come into existence without any preparation or plan, accidentally, if not coincidence. They exist as they appear. One day, when the elements and energies disintegrate or dissolve, that things also disappear. These are the three. First group believe there is one particular cause, and that cause is responsible for all these existing things in this universe, living things, animates or inanimates. That is God. That first cause is God. Everything comes from Him. If there is no God, no world, no living beings, no universe, according to them. Then another religious group says, not only one particular cause or one particular God, there are so many other sources, elements, energies, known and unknown, visible and invisible causes. They have their own identity, their own characteristic, and they get together, and according to their responsible duties, the nature, the formation take place in different forms. Scientists agree with this interpretation, and Buddhism agree with this interpretation. Buddhism never says there is only one particular cause. There are so many, that is what the Buddha says here, there are so many elements, but we catch only one particular element and say this is the only element which is responsible for all the other things that which exist. Many unknown things. Again, materialists who have no religions, agnostics and free thinkers who have no religion, who do not believe in God or religions, says all these things that which exist, they have their own identity, not created by anybody, not molded by anybody, and there is nobody to take the responsibilities of these existing things. They appear, they exist, they disappear. That is their nature. So we maintain our own imaginations. We create concept and belief due to our ignorance, not knowing what this life is. How can we understand what this world is, what this universe is? The Buddha's advice is, don't waste your time. Don't waste your valuable human life. This is a golden opportunity. Becoming a human being is not an easy task. It is not so easy to gain that human intelligence. You must know how to make use of that intelligence. Because human life is the center between heaven and hell. Remember this. The way how we handle our life, the way how we use our life, we create our own heaven, our own hell. Others are not responsible for that. But other living beings have no such intelligence to mold their future life. That is why say that this is the center. So we have to handle this very carefully. If we misuse, we will drop. That is hell. If we use our intelligence without misusing, we will be in heaven. That means freedom, happiness, salvation, complete satisfactoriness. That is heaven. Then our attitude towards other religions. We cannot say that there are no differences. When you study Buddhism and Christianity, Buddhism and Islam, Buddhism and Hinduism, you can see there are so many differences. We cannot say all are the same. But our duty is, although there are differences, not to discriminate, not to disturb, not to ridicule other religions. That is called religious tolerance. Religious tolerance does not mean that we also believe the concept and belief maintained by other religions. That is not religious tolerance. In spite of various differences, if we can tolerate what others believe, what others perform in the name of religion, without disturbing them, allow them to practice their own religion, that is called religious tolerance. So when you study the religious history for a few thousand years, because of this lack of religious tolerance, their intolerance created violence, bloodshed all over the world. We cannot point out in any country where Buddhism exists that Buddhists disturb or ridicule the other existing religions. Our attitude is, you can practice your religion, please allow us to practice our religion. That should be the attitude. Buddhists never go and preach to Christians and Muslims and Hindus, never ask them to come and embrace Buddhism. Buddhists never say that your religions are wrong. We cannot say they are wrong. But there are good teachings. This is another beautiful saying of the Buddha. The uniqueness of the Buddha's teaching you can find here. He says in Anguttara Nikaya, if you can find truth in any other existing religion or any other source, accept the truth. You cannot say, oh, it is not in our holy book, it is not in Buddhism, or therefore we cannot accept it. We are wrong, according to the Buddha. The reason is this. One religious teacher lived only for a few years. Jesus, I think only 4 years. The Buddha, 45 years. Within this limited period, one religious teacher cannot reveal everything in this world. There are many things that the Buddha did not reveal. On 2 occasions he has mentioned this. I have revealed only this much, which are very important for you to find out your salvation. There are many more I have not revealed because they are not important for you to find out your salvation. When you study other religions, sometimes you can find some truth revealed by some other religious teachers. So you cannot say, it is not recorded in our holy book, therefore we cannot accept. The freedom is given by the Buddha. When you find truth in Islam or Hinduism or Christianity. We are at liberty to accept this as a truth. That is why we cannot monopolize, we cannot glorify that our religion is the only religion. But unfortunately, some others are not ready to extend their understanding. They are not ready to compromise. Only one-way traffic. So Buddhism is known as a very gentle and noble religion of freedom because of these kind of sayings of the Buddha. The Buddha has given full freedom for us to think freely. You can forget the Buddha also. You can forget your holy books. Use your common sense. Use your human intelligence. There are many things that you can understand. The trouble is, we always surrender ourselves, our intelligence, towards our traditions, towards our religious teacher, towards our holy books. Justify, our holy book says like this, therefore we must accept. But Buddhism says, don't accept, although it is recorded in your holy book. Study, think, then you can understand. And many people have not given that chance to their mind to think. Because the way how they introduce religion, they have their ready-made religious concept. They preach, this is the message given by the God. You have no other choice, you must accept. You cannot doubt. Then they stop their thinking. There is nothing to think. The Buddhism says, don't accept anything without thinking, without analyzing. So you blunder your way of thinking. If you accept everything without using your human mind. Especially in a country like Malaysia, a cosmopolitan society, there are many things for us to learn from other religions. "2,500 years history of Buddhism and other religions. When you compare from time to time, we can see how other religions have borrowed ideas from Buddhism to enrich their philosophy, their psychology, their doctrine. Many scholars have pointed out. Even in India, although there were 62 religious groups at that time, two Indian scholars who are Hindus, not Buddhists, in their books they have written, when you study Hinduism few hundred years before the Buddha and Hinduism few hundred years after the Buddha, we can see how Hindus have borrowed ideas from the Buddha's teaching to enrich their Hinduism. Who says this? Hindu philosophers. Even Mahatma Gandhi, in his book, My Religion, the title of the book is My Religion, he says, as Hindus, we have indebted to Buddhism. We have borrowed so many ideas from the Buddha's teaching. They admit it. Again, when you talk about the Dhamma taught by the Buddha had to use the existing religious terms, religious words and interpretation. In fact, the truth or the Dhamma revealed by the Buddha, when you study, you can see many things existed in India, not new discoveries. So what did the Buddha do? He acknowledged, he accepted that it is true. He had to use the word dharma, arma, nirvana, moksha. They are not Buddhist terms. The Buddha had to use the existing religious terms. But the interpretation given by the Buddha differs. That means rationalized the existing concept and belief. He has modified and rationalized. For example, karma. Every religion that existed in India believed that karma is true. But when you compare the Buddha's interpretations of karma, entirely different. Hindu karma and Jaina karma and Buddhist karma. Hindus believe that when once we have committed bad karma, the God will come and punish us. When we do some good deeds, good karmas, the God will come and reward us. Again the Buddha says no. God has nothing to do with this. See the difference now. Karma itself creates the effect, reaction. God or devils have nothing to do. Again, another belief among Jaina religious group. When once we have committed a bad karma, under any circumstance we cannot get rid of this karma. We had to pay. The Buddha says no. We can overcome. Don't surrender yourself thinking you have committed bad karma. By using your effort, by using your intelligence, and by doing more and more good karmas, by maintaining healthy mind, pure mind, not by worshipping and praying to anybody, you will be able to overcome the effect of the bad karma. Here you can see the different interpretation. Again, moksha. To them, moksha meaning Brahmaloka. The Buddha also used the word same thing, used by Hindus, but he has given different interpretation. He says, when you start from the bottom, hell, animal kingdom, a spirit world, ghost world, human, and devas, and Brahmas, highest. So they believe when they reach the highest stage, Brahma world, that is moksha, that is nirvana, that is final goal. The Buddha says no. We also can, as Buddhists, become human beings, become devas, become Brahmas. There is no difficulty. But in Brahma world, we cannot find the final goal, eternal, everlasting happiness. It is changeable. Earlier they never knew this. Only through the enlightened person understanding can explain this kind of thing. So, how they have incorporated and refined and purified concept and belief. So Buddhism is not a free religion to say the Buddha has discovered everything in Buddhism. Many things existed in India, but he acknowledged, he knew these things are right, then accommodated. But many things he has rejected, directly rejected. Here the belief that people had, all these religions are the same. Buddha says no. Then what are the things that he has rejected? Very common practices. By praying to any god, any Buddha or Bodhisattva, you cannot find out your final salvation. This is the common belief. The Buddha rejected this. By performing religious rites and rituals and ceremonies, you cannot find out your final salvation. This practice also very common at that time. By torturing your physical body, cutting and poking and starving, you cannot wash away the sins committed by you. And this belief also is very common among certain religious groups. He rejected this. Again, by following certain gurus as their masters or teachers and depending on them by taking initiation, they believe that they can get rid of the sins and get the blessings. After that they can find out salvation. The Buddha said, don't develop personality cult. Don't develop your attachment toward the Buddha. It doesn't serve any purpose. You must try to understand who the Buddha is. Then you can understand. Simply by worshipping, admiring his features, complexion, you won't gain anything. That is only for emotional satisfaction. So he did not encourage anybody to come and worship him or admire his beauty. But we like to worship him. One Russian philosopher has said, the more I know him, the more I love him. The more I love him, the more I know him. The Buddha, one Russian philosopher. Because when we come to know who the Buddha is, his characteristic, his way of life, his wisdom and enlightenment, in his compassionate heart, then naturally we get that feeling that we must pay respect. The Buddha never demands that. To him there is nothing. Again, very unfortunately, some other religious groups say, if you worship another guru, another master, another god, you commit a sin. What a wonderful sin is that. When you respect a religious teacher, you commit a sin. Buddhism teaches, puja cha pujaniyana etang mangala buddha, in Mangala Sutta. Respect those who are worthy of respect, whether they are in your religion or in any other religion. If you think they are worthy of respect, respect. If you like to pay respect to any god, the Buddha never gets angry. He will be very happy because he has given that freedom to you. But unfortunately, many others cannot tolerate. When their followers go and worship another god, they get angry. That angry means jealousy. What else? But even then, we have no right to disturb them or ridicule them. We must understand they are weaknesses in their religion. The Buddha was very straightforward religious teacher. The Buddha was very straightforward religious teacher. Mr. Nehru, the Prime Minister of India, has written in his book, Discovery of India. He was not a Buddhist, but whenever he talked about religion, he always talked about the Buddha. I remember once he gave a talk in the United Nations. He started his talk like this. Today, human beings are in danger. If we want to lead a peaceful, happy life, we have to follow only one method taught by one religious teacher. He is the Buddha. If you don't want to live peacefully, if you are ready to suffer or see utter destructions of the mankind, you can follow the nuclear weapons. That is the way how he started his talk. Wherever he goes, always point out the sayings of the Buddha. So he says, I really cannot understand what sort of courage and knowledge and conviction that he had to point out the weaknesses of so many existing religious beliefs and practices. Because earlier, any other religious teacher could not do that. He pointed out, these things are wrong, these things are wrong, these things are meaningless, pointed out. And these things are good. All the existing things, he said, yes, these things are good, but these things are bad, no use. So he says, I really cannot understand what sort of courage and knowledge and wisdom he had to say to point out the belief and traditions they maintain for thousands of years in that country. So, we can see what is happening all over the world. Places of worship, temples, mosques, churches, and many other places. Fully crowded. Worshippers go and pray and worship. If we can understand their mentality, if we can analyze their mind, who go and pray and worship, their jealousy, their hatred, their ill will, their greed, their selfishness still remains the same way without reducing even one degree. Then what is the use of their prayers and worship? What are they going to contribute? Even for their own satisfaction. Just create imagination. The God will forgive all our sins committed by us, therefore we go and worship. That's all. Is that the purpose of religion? There may be few who never worship anybody, never pray to anybody, but they try to uphold human dignity, principles, duties, responsibilities without neglecting them. To me, they are more religious, but not those who go and pray and worship. They go and worship with selfish motive for their own protection, disregarding others. That is why there is no peace in this world today. People do not uphold religious principles, never try to shape up their way of life according to religious precepts or the principles. They take religion for granted. Oh, it is for worshipping. Worship and pray, that's all. So Buddhism is not that type of religion. It is a practical religion. It is very, very tolerant religion which teaches us to fulfill your duties and responsibilities, then go on cultivating and developing and understanding. So this is not a religion just to worship. Actually the word worshipping also not very appropriate word from the Buddhist point of view. It's not worshipping, paying respect. We pay respect, we honor. Worship means we go and bow down, kneel down and ask something. But we never go and ask anything. We honor him for his highest achievement, for gaining such wonderful enlightenment and paving the way for us to get rid of our sufferings. We honor him. Then we feel happy. Then we also try to mold our way of life to follow him. That is the Buddhist way of life. Then, as I mentioned earlier, religion has become very sensitive issue. People can declare war in the name of religion to massacre millions of other human beings because of their religion. I have given the reason. Religion is a concept, a belief maintained in our mind When once we accepted this, we hold on to this concept. Later, this concept crystallizes in our mind. When it is crystallized, cannot penetrate some other reasonable, justifiable belief, because this is already dynamic, cannot change. If anybody talk against this concept, we get angry. But we never think, actually this is our imagination. Later we will come to know this is only imagination. But scientists go on discovering more and more and more things every year. So they don't want to uphold only the thing that they have discovered earlier, thinking this is the final truth. So what they have discovered in this universe are still could not complete it. But religious concept and belief, when once enter into our mind as concept and belief, we maintain this. We never release it. We never open it to investigate whether it is right or wrong. That is why religion has become a very sensitive subject. So, when we associate with the followers of other religions, we must know the technique. By knowing their mentality, when you talk to them, when you work with them, when we associate with them, you have to adapt your way of life to avoid misunderstanding, to avoid hatred, to avoid heated argument. I can tell you one or two incidents. So one day I gave a public talk in Kelantan. Few Catholic brothers also came and attended. And our Buddhist devotees were not very happy, thinking they have come with challenge. They came and told me there were few Catholics also come here to attend the talk. Then I told them it's very good, because they are educated people, they can understand what we talk. It's very good. So I gave my talk. After that, chairman announced, it's the time for you to ask any question. There is nothing for them to ask. So one of them got up and asked, well, we really appreciate your talk. There is one thing that I cannot understand. Why you did not mention anything about God in your talk? So usually people cannot talk about religion without God. Now then I thought I must give very simple answer without allowing him to ask a counter question. Then I told, do you know why I did not mention anything about God? Because I don't know anything about God. Finish. He cannot ask why. Another occasion, we were invited International Islamic Conference in that building there. There were delegates from all over the world. I think Mr. Tantik Bing also followed me a few years ago. As soon as we enter into their building, group of people came and, do you believe in God? That is the first thing. Because we must know to whom we are talking. That is very important. When he asked, do you believe in God? I said, why not? So he thought it is a useless question. That's why I told you, you must know how to talk, to whom you are talking, whether they are Christians or Muslims or Hindus or freethinkers, without hurting them, without irritating them, we can maintain our friendship. That is very important. If I started that day, do you believe in God? No, we don't believe in God. Then you can see what sort of argument, and in the end, staring at each other, then we separate. So we should not create such bad atmosphere. I did not tell a lie. Because as Buddhists, we also believe in so many gods. If not, I can say, oh, you believe only in one God, we believe in so many gods. Also true. So, we must know how to talk. And people invite, unnecessary argument and misunderstanding, in the end become enemies because of the sensitivity of religious issues. Then, the word religion, I have told you, not very meaningful word for us to introduce Buddhism, the teachings of the Buddha. The word used by the Buddha is Dharma. In Sanskrit, the existing word in India at that time. But the Buddha has given different interpretation. Dhar is the root of the word, Sanskrit word. Dhar means hold, uphold. Now this earth in Sanskrit and Pali language is called Dharani. Dharani means earth, meaning that which hold everything, earth. So the Dharma means the method that we have to practice in order to maintain our human dignity and noble life. Uphold. If you do not uphold or practice, what will happen? We will fall down. There are four unfortunate states of existence. But if we follow the Dhamma, Dhamma will protect us without allowing us to fall down. If we follow the Dhamma, we never go to hell. We never become animals. We never become devils or ghosts or spirits. Or we never become very unfortunate living beings. Because the Dhamma will uphold and support us. That method is called Buddhism. The word religion cannot give this meaning. So the Buddha has used that word, Dhamma. Pali, Dhamma. Sanskrit, Dharma. Meaning is uphold. Again, Dhammo have rakhati dhammachari. Another meaningful saying. Now as Buddhists, we do not depend on God for everything. As you know, there are certain worldly things in our day-to-day life where certain devas can help us to avoid certain misfortune or accidents or calamities or disturbances. They can contributes only that much. From the Buddhist point of view, a deva or a god cannot give us knowledge, cannot give us wisdom, cannot give us our final salvation. Then here, Dhammo have rakkati dhammachari. Dhammachari, one who leads a righteous way of life, religious life. The Dhamma that he practices will protect him, guide him. The protection comes from the same Dharma that we practice. It is true. Take for instance, if you are kind, if you are honest, if you have patience and understanding, you are following the Dharma. This is Dharma. Then others don't want to disturb you because you are very honest. You never disturb others. That is Dharma. And you are kind-hearted but not selfish. You are willing to extend your help at any time. That is Dharma. So when not only human beings, you get protection even from the devas, even animals, fierce animals also do not disturb those who follow the Dhamma. Those who meditate in the jungle, where there are fierce animals, tigers, lions and pythons and all sorts of animals, every day they radiate their compassionate heart, open their compassionate heart and loving kindness. This vibration protect them. Animals also never come and disturb. Very deep meaning of the saying of the Buddha, Dhammo have rakkati dhammachari. If you really practice the Dhamma, there is nothing for you to worry about your protection, or devils and ghosts and other living beings cannot disturb you, because you have developed your energy by upholding this Dharma. The others become powerless to attack you, disturb you. This is called Dharma. This is the nature of the Dharma, or this is the nature of religion the Buddha has introduced for us to practice individually, for each and every person to understand and maintain. Then, as long as we live, we can live peacefully. When we are going to die, also we can die peacefully without worries and without fear. And after our death also, if there is another life, that life also never becomes miserable one, because of the Dharma protect you. This is universal law. And one day, we get the chance to find out our final salvation, to see the end of all our sufferings and problems. Thank you. Akāsattā ca bhummattā devānāgā mahidhikā puññantaṃ anumoditvā chiraṃ rakkhantu lokasāsanam ittāvatā ca ammehi sampataṃ puñña sampadaṃ sabbe devā anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhiyā devo vassatu kālena sassa sampatti hetu ca pīto bhavatu loko ca Raja bhavatu dhammiko idammo ñāti nammotu sukitā hontu ñātayo imina puñña kammena māme bāla samāgamo sataṃ samāgamo hotu vyāva nibbāna pattiyā.